just cavity concoctions.
I put up this post a couple days ago talking about your guys' hot takes on music, video games, culture, movies, whatever. And we're gonna be reading them, so let's go. Someone needs to take whatever Dandy's World, Forsaken, and Sprunky are away from the younger Gen Z and Gen A and put them on some actual games. Copy and paste mascot horror games and cheap Dead by Daylight copies are the stupidest things to me. Okay, I partially agree, partially disagree. I'm looking at the second statement, you know, and I'm thinking, I don't like the fact that indie games are going in a direction where they're all sort of copy and paste of each other, and I've made a whole new video about this. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Unless they have like a really cool animation style, like Puppet Combo, for example, and I can kind of excuse them for making the same game over and over again, low-key, because it has a cool art style. And all of the games are fun because they have new, unique elements. And I can't say the same for most indie horror. But why do I disagree with this? Well, let's think about that. Dandy's World, Forsaken, and Sprunky, yeah, they may be shit for us. They're gonna look back on this when they're our age and think, okay, those were really nostalgic and cool. They're gonna look back on Sprunky and Forsaken in the same way that we look back on Pop Tropica and Habbo Hotel and Bin Weevils and Club Penguin and Scratch. I guess those were better. Never mind. Yeah, no, what we played was objectively probably a lot more entertaining and better, but like, I'm not much of a gamer myself. I did that, but that's what I see anyway. People who say this get memed a lot, but I don't think many of the intro metal bands like Tool, Sleep Token, Slipknot, and System of a Down are metal. I don't mean to discredit any of these bands. I love many of them, but it seems weird to me that people shoehorn them into metal when they sound much more similar to rock. Their fan bases have a much more overlap with rock bands other than metal bands, and many of them claim not to be metal. Ultimately pointless, but always confuses me. And I completely agree. Other than Slipknot, and I made a video about this about a year ago, so if you want to go see it, you know, I do a lot of yapping on this channel, so you know, but this isn't a very hot take, I must say, so you missed the assignment, but you know what, we'll let it slide. Bring back at least a little bit of calling people posers, but in the way of the early 2000s where ideals were as much a part of the subculture as the music and outfits. Here, I'll give you one for you. I think posers need to start owning the fact that they're posers and not be embarrassed about it. When you think about the definition of poser, it's the same with like skateboarding and shit. It's someone who wears the merch or someone who tries to pose like they're involved in a certain scene when they actually aren't, which at its core, if anything, is just like promoting bands. Do you know what I mean? And hey, if you buy merch from a band because it looks cool, maybe it'll encourage you to get into the music. I would be completely fine with that, honestly. I don't see why people would be so irrationally, in my opinion, upset at that, because it's like, Iron Maiden shirts are fucking awesome. I agree with you. You know, I wouldn't blame you for wearing them. But in that sense, yes, I do agree we should start normalizing the use of the word poser more without stigma. I think that will help the scene more, I think, because it will stop people from trying to claim that they aren't posers, which is what's causing conflict within the scene, is people saying, I'm not a poser, like, do you know what I mean? All the Swifties are becoming alt now because preppy isn't trendy anymore. No, preppy is still trendy, I just think that it's not... Even though I completely disagree, hats off to this guy. This is a controversial opinion that would get you spat on and kicked out of the little bakery. Now, I'm struggling to see what kind of social norms Swifties are becoming alternative to. It's not alternative to the mainstream, it's not alternative to pop as a genre, it's not alternative to mainstream fashion. Like, yeah, being preppy isn't trendy anymore, that's true, but it's still normal. The 2021 alt aesthetic was peak. All this new cheap grey shit they sell at Hot Topic isn't alt in the slightest. The argument of whether Hot Topic is alternative or not still relies, and I've done no research on this so I can't say for myself, but it relies ultimately on like the production chains of the products they sell and the wages of the workers who create these products, as well as like how they're transported, where they're created, how much they're being sold for, which I don't know anything about. And I'm taking a long time with this one, but the 2021 alt aesthetic was peak. I'm gonna have to agree. And maybe I'm blinded by nostalgia, but I was obsessed, bro. Where I live, there was like skate parks and shit, and they'd all accumulate there, and like none of them would skate. They would all just come and drink energy drinks and get laughed at. But low-key, I was there, 13-year-old me was there. I was like, damn. Yeah, like 14, 15-year-old me in 2021 would have been like, you guys are kind of lit. I can't lie, like, this is pretty cool. I enjoy Olivia Rodrigo secretly as a man. Is this like a... It's not even a question. You're just confessing, I guess. But yeah, bro, hats off to you if that's your jam. You know, has this just turned into one of these like pastor's booths where you just admit shit now? Better hope I don't touch you. Irrational hatred of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, and I feel you with the Red Hot Chili Peppers because they seem performative in a sense. Flea, particularly the bassist, like, is he really that good? Or does he just have like cool haircuts? Black metal is hella corny. Facts, bro. It's not just the fan base, bro. It's like the music itself is fucking corny, bro. What the fuck do you mean you want to like kill everyone and yourself and you want to be a satanic and drink your blood? Shut the fuck up, bro.
They're all in pain. Well, my fucking ears are in pain. Fucking hearing your fucking voice, you twat.
I say that as if Judas Iscariot isn't like one of my most played bands of all time. Mumble rap absolutely fucking sucks. Wow. I used to be a mumble rap hater. I'm not sure how old this guy is. Is he 10 years old? Is he 45 years old? This could come from either one of these people's mouths. Rappers like Yeet, Ken Carson, and Carti are ass. It sounds like moaning noises over some hardcore 808s. And this is what I don't understand, is that he says, it absolutely fucking sucks, and then only self-titled and Die Lit a Fire. So he's instantly contradicted himself there. Like, there's the two, like, baseline albums of mumble rap are the ones he mentions, which is really good. So instantly I'm thinking, okay, if you like those, then obviously there's gonna be mumble rap out there that you enjoy. Even within mumble rap, there's so much diversity within that, you know? And also the way you describe it, saying it sounds like moaning noises over some hardcore 808s, that's kind of how like people who don't listen to metal describe metal, saying it's just screaming over guitars. Like, it's just, you have a very surface level view of it. Genres are dying as we know them, and that's a good thing. And can I just tell you something? I agree. I do agree with this. I hate micro genres so much. I think that, as an example, I'm gonna say, if you call Venom like a thrash metal band, and then someone comes in and says like, actually, what the fuck? They're like black metal. No, what the fuck? They're speed metal, bro. You're a fucking poser. There is so many metal subgenres found within Venom's song music. Like, I think it's kind of goofy to like label them as one, because they're obviously multiple. But are genres dying? Yes, I think they kind of are. And you kind of see it like rap and EDM and elements of like extreme music, like heavy metal, like the harsh noises, they're all seeping into each other. And it's so cool to see Gen Z do this like almost all by themselves, pretty much because of online spheres. I think that's such a fucking cool thing to see. And we're doing this very subconsciously. We don't realize that we're doing this, and we don't bother lumping ourselves into one. And also there's no need for all these micro labels and shit for music. Just make a song that you enjoy, bro. And this is on a similar point, but not knowing what specific genre of metal you're listening to isn't a problem as long as you just appreciate the music. And like the line between all these other like micro genres like grindcore and gore grind and porno grind, even hardcore and death metal sometimes, and like, bro, what do you mean Dying Fetus is your favorite slam band, bro? They're clearly brutal death metal. I don't fucking care, bro. Like, shut the fuck. Eminem is horrible and corny and glazed way too much. This is a hot take as well in the rap community, because people always feel like they need to pay respect to Eminem by acting like he's the GOAT. Maybe his music hasn't aged very well, but it seems very corny now, and it seems very like Instagram Reels music, you know? If he started making music now, it would definitely be like Instagram Reels rap. A Clockwork Orange. Hell yeah, bro. Kid A by Radiohead doesn't touch top 100 albums of all time. You're gonna make me agree with Anthony Fantano. When it comes to electronic music, it's so like, it's not good. Like, what the fuck? I can remember like listening to it for like the first time in like 2023, and I sat down and listened to the entire thing thinking it was gonna be like gut-wrenching, and I was like, what the fuck? This is so underwhelming. It's just like really really mediocre. The Benz, however, I would argue reaches top 50 albums of all time. Why the fuck are people still hung up on Kid A? People who glaze Kid A, you gotta get on some good electronic music, because like, this is so mid, bro. Don't know if it's controversial, but I don't think any new artist is going to be remembered in 10 to 15 years the way legends like Michael Jackson are. Not even remembered at all. And I full-heartedly agree. Look back on any period of musical history, whether it be like the 1960s or the 2010s, and you're gonna realize a pattern that the ones who are recognized the most, or the ones who will be recognized the most, are the ones that were doing something different. None of these popular artists right now, and I'm talking about Sabrina Carpenter, I'm talking about Benson Boone, and a bunch of others, they don't actually bring anything to the table. A lot of the time within music scenes, the ones who are most remembered and most loved are the ones who are they're the ones who contributed the most to, or like even in some cases like Black Sabbath, created entire genres. You know what I mean? Artists in their own subgenres who are the most remembered are usually the ones who contributed the most or even created the subgenre itself. Because these people who are mainstream, like, yeah, they're making music, but they're not like creating music, you know what I mean? They're not, that's why no one remembers them. The most influential figures in music of all time, you know, unless you were like black in the 1900s, are usually the most remembered. And I think in an era where there are so many massive pop stars who are just doing the same thing and honestly probably botting Spotify plays, and like, they're not gonna be remembered. Who is gonna remember Sabrina Carpenter? Because yeah, she's made a lot of pop. Has she contributed anything towards pop music though, in the same way that so many other artists have? And for that reason, yeah, she may be big right now. Are we gonna remember her as a legend though? And even for today's standards, that's why I think people who currently have less popularity than someone like Sabrina Carpenter, so people like who are in the rap game, people like Lil B and A$AP Rocky, Travis Scott, Gucci Mane, Lil Wayne, Kanye, Young Lean, Chief Keef, 3 6 Mafia, regardless of how popular they are within the rap game right now, I think relatively they're always going to be remembered or hailed as like cornerstones within rap, simply because they did things differently. That's what mainstream music at least is lacking. And for this reason, and this sounds so dumb and so glazed and so stupid, right? Some people like Netspend are probably going to be better remembered in rap than someone like Sabrina Carpenter is within pop. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she could be remembered. There's still a big chance of that, you know? But I don't think she will be hailed as one of the greats, despite her huge following. Guys, those were some hot takes.
Okay, good night, guys.